Okay, so now that we've completed an assessment and added some data, I wanted to talk a bit more about additional data that you can add into Skillsbase. The data I wanted to talk about was teams, roles, locations, qualifications, and targets. We've already talked a bit about roles and teams, so I'm just going to recap those quickly and then we'll get into the other three. So let's just revisit roles. I've got a role set up here. I'm going to open that up. When you go into the actual role and the edit view of that role, you can see the skills that I've actually assigned to that role. And it's one of the key functions of roles and teams within the system to actually be able to assign skills to the people that either belong to those roles or to the teams. And so if we go into the teams area and pick one of the teams, in a similar way, we can see the skills that are assigned to that team and would then be assigned to the people within that team based upon how we actually set their person record up. So with that being said, I wanted to now talk about the three other data types. So we'll start with locations. And so if we go up here on the left-hand menu and click on locations, we can see that there is a location that I've added into the system. If I drill down into that, one of the beauties is that it actually presents you with a dashboard that orientates towards that location. And so people who have that location will then appear within that dashboard in terms of the overall skill level. It's a great reporting feature of the system, and you can assign people to locations when you create them. So now that I've created that location, if I go into the people area and open a record, let's say Jane, I'll see the location option appear and I'll be able to select Jane against the New York office. The next thing I wanted to talk about is qualifications. So I've already set some qualifications up in here. If I go into the qualifications area, I can drill down into one of the qualifications. And again, I can see a dashboard that's orientated towards that qualification and all the people who have that qualification. Again, it's a great reporting feature, and it's also a great feature in terms of being able to track qualifications at an individual level. So people can track their qualifications, and they can also identify dates as to when they might need to renew that qualification. So it's an extra feature of the system in being able to automate sending reminders about qualification expiry dates. The last thing I wanted to talk about at this point was targets. And so targets get set in relation to entities in the system. And so I'm going to talk about how you might set a target against a role. And so if I go into the roles area, you'll see that I've got my developer role set. Let's say I want to add a new role. Let's do that. And it's going to be the manager role. And so this is a role that I'm going to use to identify managers within the business. I'm also going to assign skills. And let's track all of the soft skills against the managers. And so now that's saved, I can open that up. And again, I've got a dashboard. And when I start to track assessments against those managers, this dashboard will then start to populate. What I'm going to do is go into the targets area. And it's in here that I can actually set targets. And you set targets in a very similar way to the way in which you do an assessment. And so I can invoke the set target and begin the assessment. And this will actually set targets for each of the skill levels. This then determines competence. And so when a manager or a person who has that role of manager completes an assessment, the system will compare their skill level with the target skill level and will determine a percentage competence relative to are they at or above or below the actual target skill level.